All right. Welcome back to the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast. I am Melanie, the Hip Hop Scholar. I got another great episode ready for you today. Now, let me start like this. Some artists make music and others make moves, but every now and then, one does both and makes history. From the blocks of Louisiana's 318, that port city, where the grind is gospel and the hustle has harmony, rises a creator who turned his pain into poetry and his vision into value. His name, Tripper 318. Now streaming across platforms like Apple Music, Tripper 318 brings that same entrepreneurial energy to every beat. His tracks carry the pulse of Shreveport. The drawl, the drive, the duality of a man who can talk business by day and bless the mic by night. Every verse feels lived, not written. Every hook feels earned and not handed down. He's more than just a rapper. He is a renaissance, a brand, a movement, a living reminder that when you know who you are, the world will eventually catch up. Now, before Instagram made branding a buzzword, Tripper 318 was already building his empire from the ground up. In 2014, the Shreveport Times, yes, the business and entrepreneur section, spotlighted his company, StreetPort brand. I'm donning it on as well, recognizing not just his style, but his strategy. He wasn't just selling fashion, he was selling freedom. The freedom to express, to own, to represent where you are from without apology. Because StreetPort isn't a logo, it's a language. It speaks in textures and tones. It says, I built this, brick by brick. It says, I'm proud of where I came from, and I'm not done yet. That's what makes Tripper 318 more than a name. He is a symbol. He represents the South's evolution, where creativity meets commerce, where authenticity still pays the bills, and where every stitch, every lyric, and every post is part of the bigger picture. Legacy. So when we talk to Tripper 318, you're not just going to be talking to any artist. You're talking to a blueprint. He's not a businessman. He's a business man. A walking masterclass in ownership, consistency, and community. The kind of man who learned early that nobody's coming to save you, so you better build something worth standing on. And he did. He built StreetPort from struggle. He built a sound from soul, and he built a reputation from realness, the kind that can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. His voice carries Louisiana's lineage, that deep drawl that makes you feel the mud, the music, and the mission. You can hear the hunger in his tone, the pride in every pause, the purpose behind every punchline. He's more than hip hop. Tripper 318 is heritage. He's proof that success can be self-made and style can be sacred. So tonight, the Hip Hop Scholar honors the grind that built a brand and the man behind it. The artist who made StreetPort more than clothing. The visionary who made independence look elegant. And the son of the South who showed us what it really means to create on your own terms. This episode is not just any interview, it is a testimony. It is a moment for the dreamers, the doers, the designers of destiny. So wherever you're listening, lean in, because this story, this sound, and this soul is bigger than bars. It's about business, belief, and becoming. This is the Hip Hop Scholar Podcast, and we are with the brand, the bars, the blueprint, the Tripper 318. There you go. Welcome. Yes,
that
sir.
was amazing. Excellent. Phenomenal introduction. Your expertise should be praised, will be praised right now. Yes,
I take
Lord.
that. I take that. It's because of artists like yourself, Tripper. I mean, I'm thankful that you're here, Kadarius. I want you to know that. I appreciate it. The brand, the Streetport brand, I got these shirts from his wife, Sierra, at the Jazz Festival this year.
Hey,
I bought a
yeah,
bunch of them for my whole family. So, yes, sir. We represent everywhere we go. Yes, sir.
yes, ma'am. We appreciate
All
the
right. Well,
support. Thank you for the opportunity.
of course, of course. So let's go ahead and jump into it. My first question is the question I ask all my artists. When did you fall in love with hip hop? What was that for you? And when was that? And just share that with us.
I fell in love with hip hop as a kid. Like my mom was a super still is a super hip hop fan. My mom and both of my aunts. They had all the old school vinyl records from the small ones to the big ones, like DJ Jazzy Jeff, and the Fresh Prince, and the Beastie Boys, the Fat Boys. I used to love the Fat Boys. So I fell in love with hip hop at an early age and the earliest stages of hip hop as well. So yeah, I go back all the way to New York, East Coast, and just from my mom. Yep.
And shout out to your mom
Bit,
and your aunties for having
yeah.
that vinyl collection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big vinyl collection.
Do y'all still have it, or is that something that
Yeah.
now you've transitioned? Okay.
Yeah, we still have it. Even my grandparents, they still have their vinyl collections too, from like the Isley Brothers, Al Green. Like I'm just a music head, all the way from before hip hop too. Yeah, Jackson 5, Michael Jackson's, all of that. So yeah.
And got you're influenced by all of that, by some legends, by some true essence of what music really is and was and still will be.
Yes,
Oh
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that sounds great, man. Shout out to you people that you come from a music minded family altogether, straight from your grandparents. So you grew up in this.
Yeah, I grew up in this. Like my grandmother, like when I was a kid, I never knew like she had a music room with a big stereo speakers. And she used to have me and my cousin. We grew up like brothers. Listen to Jackson 5 Greatest Hits CD. Like that's how she brought us up. And she
Hmm.
had this picture of this man on the wall. I never knew until I got older, like maybe 23, 24. The whole time since I was a kid, the man on the poster on her wall was Rick James.
Huh. Wow.
Yes. So all my time growing up as a kid, I'm like, I just saw him, but I never knew, until I got
Hmm.
older and just really started exploring music on my own. I'm like, this is who that was this whole time. So, yeah, I'm deep into the music.
Very much so. Shout out to Rick James and his estate as well. That is amazing music, especially rooted in your history. So, music is what made you. So, then let's also start with your name. What does Tripper 318 represent for you geographically, artistically, spiritually? Representing that 318. I'm a born and a raised proud resident of the 318. So, talk to us about the name Tripper 318, sir.
Okay, triple 318 comes from It's many points that I can make on it.
Okay.
Musically starting off, I'm a huge Pimp C fan, UGK for life. Can't nobody tell me nothing. They, some of the greatest ever. Pimp C, he had a line in one of his solo album songs, and it had Tripper in it, and I'm like, okay. But growing up with my back to my grandmother, like Three's Company was one of my favorite shows, watching with her all the time. And Tripper, he stayed with two women, so it's kind of a play on a player persona, you know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
always like being a ladies man, joking with ladies, always having ladies around. So that's how serious it is. But I'm gonna have to
Hmm.
fix. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so that's kind of what was tied into it. Pimp C, UGK, the Threes Company show, that I grew up watching and still love to this day with Jack Tripper on there. So the 318 part, of course, being from Shreveport, and also during like my college days, I traveled to Grambling a lot and Monroe to ULM, a lot of college parties. So all around the 318 Natchitoches, with Northwestern, hitting up parties and stuff. So I'm always in the whole 318 and not just Shreveport, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's
and
where
that's
the triple 318 comes from.
very multifaceted, not just one thing. Very opposite of linear, like a spectrum of it. So geographically, even artistically, and then the spirit of the city and the section of
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana, representing the rural parts. Because you talking about Monroe and
Mm-hmm.
Grambling, shout out to those campuses, but they are in very rural areas of
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana where you got to know where you going to get there. And so traveling,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, but at the same token, though, making that connection and traveling through that, you represent 318 very well, sir, and proud of you for doing that as well.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and then so with that too, so not only are you a musician, you're also a businessman. Both of us having on the StreetPort clothing. So what's the story behind that? What were you trying to tell through your fashion? There you go, represent. What story are you trying to tell through your fashion? And then how does that connect to your music and your identity? So break that down for us about the clothing brand.
Yes. Oh, so Streetport brand clothing. The history of it derives from the actual history of Shreveport as a city. As it became a city. You know, because it was the port actually used to have a blockage in the Red River. So Captain Shreve, him and his crew, they actually got rid of like a bunch of trees and stuff that was stopping travel through the Red River, so people couldn't trade commerce and things as freely as being on the river, versus traveling on land. So once they unblocked that, they created the port so everybody can come to Shreveport, and Shreveport people can actually travel up and down the Red River to trade, goods and services with each other. And so I use, the history of that, with my business as far as because our official slogan is important goods. So is creating, goods and product, that can travel anywhere the streets may take us.
Oh, now yes.
So, and that's just the history basis of, the brand, and with tying into the culture of like how I grew up, me, my friends, and just being around the city of Shreveport. It's a, real major party city, so we, just party with it. A lot of people, just throughout the city, meet people, have friends here and there. So just the culture and music and lifestyle of the city, and different slang and lingo and, street language that we have and that we create, I, tie all of that into the design and the clothing, what we were wearing, what the new lingo terms is, things of that nature. So just tying in history, the culture, heritage, all of that into one, and creating a full brand for the overall spectrum of the area, but to be able to also present that on a worldwide basis.
There you go. As you continue to do so in an international way, especially where we're from, that's not an easy thing either. You're explaining it in a way where you're using the historical relevance of Captain Shreve and gave us a history lesson, but also, the climb and the challenge of being able to
Mm-hmm.
do so. I also want to give you credit for that because again, we're both from the same city, and for you to have this clothing brand and be self-made, that truly talks about your strength and being able to continue and establish this all together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah. So and as an independent artist, and most independent artists, if not all of them, they face challenges. But then the question that I have, every independent artist faces that moment when they realize nobody's coming to save them. So what was that moment for you, and how did it shape your approach to the business side of hip hop?
I feel like what fueled me was understanding the opportunity, as far as hip hop, seeing independent labels and artists and rap groups like reach major heights. For instance, we just had the No Limit and Cash Money, verses, which was really a celebration. So, and I'm heavily grew up on No Limit, Master P, and Cash Money. So
Yeah.
I've always had that independent mindset, seeing that within hip hop. So I've always been a No Limit soldier. Even my dad, like he got the TRU true tattoo on his shoulder right here. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up heavy on, true soldiers, No Limit soldiers, and just seeing the independent process of how, they, use hip hop, but also ran it as a business with the albums being the product and doing, the albums to the movies to the clothing brand. And Master P, he did dolls. He had No Limit Soldier Master P dolls, like, in, you know what I'm saying, for kids and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's like it's unlimited. If you really can see it, you can do it too.
That's so well said. So wise to say, because coming off of the post after the No Limit versus Cash Money, me too. No Limit Soldier, thought I told you, doubt about it.
Yeah, I thought
Seeing me,
I told you.
man. I mean, we could do a whole episode
Yeah.
on that, right? But at the same time, seeing me X, seeing even Birdman, BG,
Oh my
seeing all of them
lord.
on the stage.
Let's
As short as it was, it should
let's
have been
give
a
me
lot
an ex
longer,
her
right?
flowers. Let's give me an ex her flowers. A lot of people don't know she was battling with cancer and stuff too. So for her to still be able to go up there and do all of that and really perform, like they say, she was the real MVP.
She really was. I mean,
For
she and
real.
Juvenile
Uh
carried the
huh.
whole thing.
Yeah.
But she was
Yeah.
number one though. Yeah. I watched it. I
Mm-hmm.
was screaming at the top of my lungs, and just for real, I enjoyed it. But again, this is about Triple 318. I want to stay
Yeah.
focused on
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
artist, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
But I,
yeah.
but
Yes,
I like
ma'am.
the connection that you made though, because when No Limit and Cash Money came out, UGK, 8 Ball MJG, in that time frame, they were
Mm-hmm.
the Southern rappers,
Mm-hmm.
even Outkast.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
Master
Mm-hmm.
P came up with the culture of TRU, really representing Louisiana and putting Louisiana on the map. Louisiana wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a mainstay or even had any respect when it came to hip hop. So that is an excellent example of independent artists growing in so many different facets in business and
Mm-hmm.
such. And then Cash Money coming along. And like Master P told Birdman in the show, he was like, I was uptown too. We were both
Yeah.
uptown doing our thing. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And that is
Uh-huh.
a great example on the limitless opportunities that are out there. You just have to have the drive, you have to have the vision, you have to have the people
Mm-hmm.
around you. And so yes,
Yeah.
and it reigns success too. So definitely a great example of being self-made and continuing into that as well. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about Louisiana as well, birthing those legends. Like we got Lil
Mm-hmm.
Boosie, we got Lil Wayne, we got all the No Limit. Louisiana is birthing
Wavy.
legends. Triple 318. You got what's the I forget the young man name who did that song that got very popular.
Ooh.
Halle Berry. What
Oh, Hurricane. Hurricane. Yep.
Hurricane Chris, right.
Got Hurricane,
Now,
Big Papa, Wild Yellow.
there you go. There you go. And there's a lot of newcomers too. So how does
Mm-hmm.
our city and your section of
Mm-hmm.
318 influence your sound, your grind, and your storytelling? Like how does that influence Triple 318 being from where you're from?
Heavily influenced because, being in Shreveport growing up, in my era, it was a lot of artists, Big Papa, Wild Yellow, Hurricane, and many more. We used to have like talent shows at Booker T and different shows like that, but they would actually perform, and this would be when I was in high school, and also parties and stuff like that, on the weekends, and we would see these artists, but if we didn't see them, they music would be played. So, and just like the hand clap, all of that,
Yeah,
just the influence, the vibe, the culture, is really, and a lot of people don't really realize that we have our own culture.
that's
So
right.
because yeah, a lot of people don't realize it. But if you understand, you can definitely, be a part of it yourself. I've always been super hip hop inspired, even just by Shreveport artists as a whole as well. So
Absolutely.
they had me in a chokehold and still do.
And continuing that lineage as well, making certain of giving that giving that nod, that respect to the city, and that's something that's always important as well, to being birth where being from where you're from and giving respect from where you're from as well. That's exactly in mind of Tripper 318, because being a self-made, celebrated, being in the Shreveport Times, being featured in the Shreveport Times is not something that they give to everybody. But again, this is talking about being a legend and giving that legacy. So your blend of art and then your entrepreneurship and your authenticity. How do you keep that message consistent across the music, the merchandise, and the image without losing the realness? And this is you being able to lecture and teach others how not to lose that realness and still be who you are. So teach them, talk to us.
You just have to know yourself. You have to know where you come from, know your lineage, your environment, and friends and family that you came up with, grew up with, and around, like the essence of who you and y'all are. Like that's real. That's a real thing. It's a forever a part of you. So just staying true to that, no matter where you go, how far you go, and just always understand that and have that in the front, and you will never lose, like, your drive, your hunger, just the essence of who you are. If you do, hey, maybe you need to go take a trip back home and let your people know. You know what I'm saying? Because if we all trying to grow in this world, sometimes we do become too far removed sometimes, and we trying to chase certain things in life. It's like, hey, maybe you need to go get a refresh. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say.
Absolutely. As you were talking, you reminded me of one of my great friends, Charity Moran. She's one of those people that can keep me grounded and remind me of the city. And as we continue to both grow, and then shout out to Charity for
Yeah.
linking this podcast
Shout out to
interview.
Miss Moran. That's my teacher, my mentor, my everything, when it comes to growing and expanding and education, learning, and everything. Shout out to her. Big shout out. Major shout out.
Absolutely, from both of us, right? You as an educator, me, she and I both went to grad school together, and I would remember
Okay.
moments. Yeah, when I got my first master's from Centenary College, she and I went there,
Yeah.
and I distinctly
Okay.
remember her being, just a cheerleader, going through that and the challenges that were faced with there. But again, it's exactly what you said, and you said it so brilliantly, Kadarius, on being able to saying Kofa, to go back and retrieve what you may have lost, and people can be too far removed, and take that visit
Yeah.
back. If you're feeling homesick, head back to the house. And remember who
Yeah.
you are as you continue on.
Or make that phone call, or hey, FaceTime go a long way nowadays.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So let's talk legacy. Let's talk legacy for
Okay.
Tripper 318 as well as with the StreetPort brand. When people mention your name years from now, I'm talking like 50, 80, 100 years from now, what do you want the Tripper 318 legacy to stand for? Talk about your legacy with us.
Stand for greatness for the future, to keep the lineage going, business minded going, black entrepreneurship, just keep it going, keep it growing, because my great grandfather, he was the first black real estate man in Shreveport, Louisiana, Charles Leon Thomas, and he's actually on the wall in Southern University on the Cooper Road, Susler, on the campus. He's in the library. His picture's there, and I didn't know it was there until I was taking a class one day, and I went to the library just to study in between classes, and I just looked up and I'm like, That I know that man. You know what I'm saying? So just having that understanding, going back to where you are, knowing the past, knowing who you are, where you come from, and know where you're going. What your vision may be different from others, but if you're still a part of a certain family or a certain people, even if you're from a family that no one hasn't done anything yet, but you want to do something, you can do it. So I just want to continue my legacy. To stand for greatness, stand for unity, stand for good character, and community as well, which is a big part of who I am in my lineage. So that's what I want my legacy to be represented as. I always saw the greatness in people, no matter how pessimistic they may think about themselves. I can see something great in somebody and influence them. That's community. And I feel like that's my responsibility. So that's what I want my legacy to represent as well.
That's so well said. Being responsible for seeing and sharing the greatness in others. And then, along with that, when you were talking, you have a lineage of business and music minded family members, right? Like that was always around you. People owning businesses, being the first of it. Shout out to Charles Leon Thomas, first real estate black man in Shreveport.
In Shreveport,
Plus, you
Louisiana.
having a museum of music. Growing up, you had a lot of influences to be great. So you really not only did you not have a choice, but to really come in the music game and create something new as well. Was anybody else a musician or a singer in your family as well?
Well, my granddad, he sang in the choir at church. I don't think he realized how good he is as a singer. It sounds like maybe in like the 60s, 70s, like the doo-wop era. Like he got that voice from like that era. To me, I don't think I don't think a lot of people really understand it, but I hear it when he sing, at church. So yeah, I feel like I got it from him. My daddy, he always had like a studio set up in his house, even if he was had other people that he was trying to help, musically. Like he wasn't so much on the microphone, but he would be like an executive producer or an investor, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So music's in your blood, whether you
It's in
producing,
my blood.
creating, lyrically, like it's
Yeah.
literally in your blood. You are destined for greatness in music and business as well, to be able to do those things. So your legacy, you are continuing a legacy of greatness, but also
Yes,
being the
ma'am.
first, using hip hop to forge your path, to be this, having a generational blessing of courageousness. You have to have courage, you have to have strength, you have to have a very uh, strong vision, but also being able to step out on a path of your own and create that. What was that like? Like, when did you get started? When did you find out that you were Tripper 318? How long have you been a hip hop artist?
I've been a hip hop artist since I want to say 2016,
Okay.
something like that. I put together like I feel like I'm just the executive producer. Originally, I'm an executive producer.
Okay.
Because with me doing the clothing brand, I used to set up at hip hop shows in Shreveport at Big D's Barbecue, and a lot of artists used to perform and stuff. And let's say like certain artists, I feel like wasn't getting the attention or collaborative effort that they deserve. So I put together a mixtape for them to feature on, and it was called like Gumbo. So like Gumbo, we released that on SoundCloud. So I executive produced that. I told each artist to get 3 tracks each, send it to me. We'll see which one's the best ones, and we'll put it together. But mainly, I was in the studio with my boy Zay and my boy BMO, and we was actually making newer tracks for the mixtape at the same time. And
Okay.
they told me that was like, we're not gonna let you do this for us without you really getting on a song. Like, so they kind of made me start actually rapping,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like with me being like a super southern playalistic kind of person anyway, just my personality, I feel like I always was rapping, just, coming up with different slang, different sayings and stuff like that, but it would be like towards the ladies or something like that, or just, just talking smack, but they forced me to be on a song which was called Only in the Dough, which I came up with the concept by listening to a Do or Die song one day, and
Okay.
me and Zay was working at Raising Cane's, and I told him in the kitchen while we cooking chicken, I was like, bro, you should make a song like this, and this should be the hook. And he was like, well, I'm gonna do it, but you gotta get on it if you want me to do it. So, and from then we made Only in the Dough. That was my first. Well, I kind of been rapping because my big cousin Didi back in the day, just growing up, but we were never on a real microphone and actually made no songs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 2016 was my first introduction to actually being on a microphone, making a full track, a full song, and
Okay.
it's been up
Okay.
ever since.
It's such a great story. That reminds me of that's how they did Easy E as well. Like they made Easy E get up and start rapping because he wasn't even trying to rap.
Mm.
And then as soon as he
See there?
did, Big E for real, yeah.
See
So
there? See? Okay, okay.
yeah,
I'm
and
like a
then
easy E.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and with NWA and that legacy and that legend, but when you were talking, it also gave nod to what you were saying earlier about community. So you not only built a community and strengthened a community, they turned to you and were like, look, we want you
Yeah.
also to be put into that. So you're creating that community. You know what I'm saying? That permeated them to find the leader in them as well, and that speaks volumes of your leadership, Kadarius, on being able to put others together to begin to, and you're teaching them how to see the greatness in others, and they were able to extract that not just your first time, but from what you already knew. Shout out to your big cousin Didi,
Yeah.
where you already was rapping.
Yeah.
You already
Yeah.
knew what to do.
Yeah.
You just needed the opportunity and the
Shout
push, and they
DD.
were like, "Come on." Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You're right. That's it. And
Oh
yeah,
man,
cause
such a good story.
I've been pretty much investing, in my friends and families like music career like for way before 2016. Just because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of them. If I be like, man, you go hard, you go dumb, like that's fire. Like you need to be a rapper, you need to drop. So, but just being in Allendale, it's like we don't have really like resources to like a big studio, So, but with me being at the hip hop shows and meeting other artists and they actually making songs and stuff, I became cool with them and they started inviting me to the studio. So I'm like, now I know a studio where I can bring my friends too. So they can drop music, you know what I'm saying? So that's that, and I was doing that for so long before I even got on the microphone myself.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
again, making an opportunity because I know 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson is out in the city and creating all these different things, but there's so many people that are trying to do that thing, but you already were like, look, nobody's coming to save us. Yeah, it's great that 50 over there,
Yeah.
but we over here and we got this going over
Yeah.
here. Huh.
Yeah. So, when just in case you never know who looking, when they're gonna look, if you already been doing it, they most likely will reach out to you before if you just starting now when they get here.
Right.
So that's what consistency come in, just believing in yourself because also I know a lot of people who they some of the best, the coldest, the rappers, ever, but they would even get in the studio and drop songs, will record songs, but they would never drop and release, the songs, let alone the project,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it was like a lack of belief of them in themselves, even if I saw what they had to offer.
Yeah.
So a part of my mission really with becoming an artist is showing them. I figured this out for y'all, for you, you know what I'm saying? And I'm showing you what you supposed to be doing with it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I feel like that's a major part of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I'm really just showing them you got the game. I helped you get it. Utilize it. You don't want to do it. I didn't even try to do this, but hey, why not? If I put it together, I researched, you know what I'm saying, made the
Mm-hmm.
connections and networked forward. Yeah.
That's right. The youth will lead. I mean, continue to talk, please, because when you're talking, I'm imagining your great great grandfather Charles Leon Thomas telling people that about real estate. Like, no, you're gonna get this house in this neighborhood. You're gonna build this house. This home is yours. Like he's speaking life into the people. To have his picture, Sussler. Now it was Sussbo back in my day, but to have his picture
Okay, I ain't know that.
yeah, yeah, it was. But to have
Okay.
his picture on the wall at on the college campus over there, that means he really had to give of himself to make others believe that. And as a real estate, to get home ownership, people that's a fear people have too. So, in
Yeah.
that same game where you're trying to get people to understand the gifts that they have, your great great grandfather was like, no, you have the credit, you have the money, you deserve to live here, and that, again, that's your legacy speaking. That is your lineage and legacy speaking about how
But
you're
people don't
trying to
want to
get the
work.
community together. Yeah, absolutely.
But
No,
people,
you.
but people don't want to put in the work. That's the thing about it too. With staying focused, not being distracted. They don't, they see what they want to do, but when they see all the work that it take to do that, they start backing down.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And I had to realize that about certain people too. Everybody wasn't raised to be a hard worker. I had to realize that, my granddad ain't played it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
nah, yeah, you finna work right here. So I had to realize a lot of people back down from the work.
Very true. Very true. That is something, unfortunately, is a worldwide thing where when you notice what work is ahead of you to get something that you deserve to earn, people will say, well, you know what? Why try so hard? What's the point? And, I ain't going to get it
Yeah.
anyway. And they talk themselves out of it. And it's so unfortunate. Yet, I want to say this, though, sir,
Okay.
Mr. Kadarius, that, whether or not somebody like 50 Cent comes to you all, they need you more than you need them. You understand that? Because the youth shall lead. And a leader like yourself that sees these issues, and like you said, you created a whole mixtape for the opportunity. You were there
Yes.
actively listening and in your brain figuring out, what's gonna work. Let me put together this mixtape. Not because somebody asked you to do it, but because you filled in the need. And that is the leadership that cities, especially like Shreveport, need for people to see their value, for people to know that they matter, that your gifts and your talents really mean something, and it
Yeah.
is important. I mean, you're absolutely right when
Yes,
it comes to
ma'am.
those things. And so again, you're being that example, and continuing that legacy from your family, but also in a very new way, especially in the reigns of hip hop. You're doing that in a very new way, stepping out on faith and showcasing that for
Yeah.
others, and hoping that hey, I hear you, hear me, and do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yes,
I'm with you
ma'am.
there. I'm with you
Just
there.
do it. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly it.
Like what you said, importing goods. Like you import
Important
the goods.
goods.
That's all you want for people is to import those goods. Import, export
Yeah.
what you got, and let's get those
Yeah.
goods going. I hear you, brother. I hear you.
Yeah.
Um, and again, to continue on with that. So let's talk more. Let's talk more. So in hip hop today, as a hip hop artist, as a hip hop producer, director, all the facets of being in hip hop, clout can overshadow craft sometimes. So how do you
Indeed.
navigate social media and still protect your creativity, your peace, and your purpose? So not just in the city, but in social media
Hmm.
world as well. How do you protect your creativity, peace, and purpose? Talk to us.
I stay focused on my vision for my creativity, and also whoever I'm collaborating with. Let's create our own path. Let's create our own guidelines. Let's narrow down what we really want to push, what the focus is, because it's easily to get distracted and see what everybody else doing and it's working for them. That don't mean it'll necessarily work for us. Everything won't work right off, but certain things you have to try and test out different strategies. I'm good at strategy, so and I know me, I know the vision that I have for the brand, even musically and things as well. And but I know musically, I'm 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 multi talented, with music. I know my specialty, because I know what I like and I mimic what I like and created my own flow, my own style and everything. So I just stay focused on what I see and what I hear would be best for me.
Yeah, because I was talking with some artists before. Social media can definitely cloud your judgment. I distinctly remember this was a while ago, where I saw a
Okay.
post. I forget who made the post, but the post stated that social media got people gassed up thinking that 10 likes is nothing. Imagine getting jumped by 10 people.
That's it. I saw
I'm
something
talking about.
similar to that. That's so real. That's so real. You
So
never know who them people. You never know who them 10 people telling who they showing you to. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
If you release a song, that 10 people can turn to 20 or 40 easily by them 10 likes.
Right. And like you were saying
Hmm.
earlier too, who knew that them having a picture of Rick James on the wall? They just put a picture on the wall, and then you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you did your research. You was like, man, that is the Rick
Hmm.
James, and it sparked such an interest in you. You just never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like you just don't know, but you just have to continue on and forge on because them, your aunt, your mom, your aunts, your dad, your grandfather singing it. I wonder if your grandfather knows that his singing in the choir with that doo-wop sound, if he knows how much that resonates with you.
I don't think he do. I need to
You
talk
know,
to him. I need to tell him.
I'm in
I need to get him on.
sincerely
I
because
need to put him on the mic.
what, man, why not? Why not? That'll be a hit. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. But it's like we're saying though, you never know who's listening. You
Hmm.
never know who you get to actually
Hmm.
inspire through what you do. So keep doing it. Why stop? Why not try harder to go harder for those 10 people, which they'll tell another
Hmm.
10 people, and it grows from there. And it may not be that immediate gratification that people are so, bent on doing, but doing it in your
That's it.
own way, the way that you're
In
comfortable
your
with,
own
and
way.
not compromising that. You know what I'm saying?